This is the Horse Radio Network.
Everybody fails, even the pros. This week, we're reminiscing on our biggest mess-ups and what we learned from them. Georgina Bloomberg joins us to talk about how she balances horse sport and rescuing animals while living in the Big Apple. We ask her all the important questions about her furry friends. Thanks for tuning in. From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour. I'm Justine Griffin.
I'm Jessica Payne.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 56 of Heels Down Happy Hour. This episode is brought to you by Arena Saddles. Beautifully styled with meticulous attention to detail, you will turn heads in any arena while being confident that your saddle is comfortable for you and your horse. Arena saddles are available in jumping, dressage, and all-purpose styles and are priced under $1,500. Find out more at arenasaddles.com.
Oh my gosh, guys. So I saw this delicious drink in our Facebook group thanks to Marlene, who shared it, who used her own peaches to create it. But Jess, you've got all the details, right?
Yeah, it sounds excellent. It's a rosemary peach maple leaf cocktail. And what she did is she muddled together a bunch of peaches, rosemary, maple syrup, lemon juice, rye, and salt into a measuring cup. And then you strain the mixture into a tumbler filled with ice. Press the fruit pulp into get it all like mixed up and get the good stuff. And you garnish it with peach slices and a rosemary sprig. And it just sounds like, and you can also add some like soda water or club soda or something. But basically it sounds really light for the summertime. And all you really need is like a few of homegrown peaches like Marlene, which would be awesome. And then she uses about 3/4 of a cup of lightly packed rosemary leaves. And then she uses half a cup of maple syrup and half a cup of water with just a little bit of lemon juice and 8 ounces of rye. So it sounds good.
Sounds awesome. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I might even make this one, even though it has prep
right?
time.
It sounds so good. It just sounds light with all the like between the like basically the rosemary and the peach. Sounds like a great kind of like light fall kind of drink.
For sure.
Hey, guess where I am?
Not America.
Not America. Yep. No, we just got here a couple days ago. We are in England over for Burley because Doug is riding Van Diver. So we're super, super excited.
How'd it go so far? The prep of getting him there, everybody getting into town?
It's really good. Like I know I've talked about this before, but we use Horseflight, which is basically a travel agent for the horses. And they arrange all the travel for him, all the travel for Courtney, basically from when we leave the farm. They tell us where they're going. They keep in communication, and then they hire like ground services for him to get from the airport. So we got really lucky. There was a flight from Huntsville, Alabama to Stansted. So he didn't have to go. Most of the time you fly out of Miami, Chicago, or JFK. And a lot of times you'll go into Amsterdam, and then they have to ferry over from Amsterdam. And it just adds a lot of time. So we were really lucky that we found this flight that basically put him from Huntsville straight to Stansted. And then he only had to go like 3 hours north to Burley. So he went straight to the venue.
Wow, that sounds great. And he's settling in great and everything looks good at the venue.
Yeah. So like Doug's flat, he's like gone on a couple of flats and he looks good. And then he actually went and cantered up the hill. He was like, there's a long hill that you can kind of gallop up and everything. And he looked great. And then he was coming back towards the barns, and on Tuesday, all the horses were starting to arrive. He got here Saturday and kind of settled in, but we were there and not very many people were there. And so Courtney and I happened to see this gate open, and Doug's like, how do I go hacking? And she's like, oh, that gate's open. That's how you get down to the Burley house. Like you can go see it on Quinn and everything. And he's like, great. So he goes down there, and before he's even back here, he has got a picture on Instagram of him in front of the Burley house. And we're like, who took the picture of him? We're like, did you just ask like some random person on the side, like, hey, sorry, can you take a picture of me and my horse? But apparently he swears it was a crossing guard that wanted to take his picture. We'll probably never know the answer, but that's what was happening. But so anyways, he's coming back over and he calls us and he's like, guys, the gate I left off of is padlocked and I can't get in. He was locked out of the compound for stabling. And apparently the gate was only open for like 2 minutes. Like, no one knows when it opened. But they're like, he's not supposed to be down that gate. Like, you have to, and he could go back by the Burley house, but he needed to go the long way. He took the shortcut. And they're like, you have to go walk down the road, down by the trade fair. He said I'm not even sure he came back the right way, but he did make it back. And it was priceless. But so he saw all of Burley on the horse the first couple times. So like we're still adventuring, and the trade fair here is incredible. It's like some of the best shopping. So I can't wait to like really get in there and shop all weekend and everything. So we're super excited.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see all your photos.
Oh, I'll post a bunch because I think I'm going to like get on and I'll post between the heels down and my personal thing. If you guys don't follow my Instagram or Doug's Instagram account, it's Jess Ants, my maiden name. You guys will post tons of pictures and I'll make sure I'll tag heels down in it and everything because it's going to be fun. And I've been here once before just to watch, but I can't even describe to you the cross country. Like we get to go walk it tomorrow and everything. And I am so excited because some of the things are huge, like the leaf pit. Pretty sure it's taller than I am. Actually, I know it's taller than I am. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, they have to jump down this. So I'm really excited. I'm glad that Quinn is, experienced horse, that I can't wait to see them go at it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we will keep you guys posted. So what do you guys have for news, Ellie?
Well, I have some cool news actually in not quite in your neck of the woods, but at least in your country right now. So over in England, this lady named Becky Markilly has this super laid back Irish draft horse mare. And I guess this horse is like so chill that throughout the night, she usually just lies flat out and just sleeps like through the entire night. So at 1 a.m., this lady Becky is woken up by a whole bunch of banging and snorting coming from the barn. So I guess she checked her barn cameras and the mare was like spinning around in her stall and like kicking all the walls. And so Becky and her husband went out to like see what the heck was going on. And they found these 3 men wearing like the full face ski masks, carrying crowbars coming out from the garden center behind their property.
What?
Yeah, just hello. And the article says that her husband said, "You all right, mate?" Just like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. But so I guess the men just apologized and said they were looking for like ATV quad trails. So they left, but they called the police and everything.
Sketchy.
Yeah, no,
I'm not sure that's a really good excuse.
Exactly. Yeah. So they called the police and like told them everything. But Becky is convinced that her mare like heard the men trying to break in and was trying to tell them. So that's really cool. And I want a guard horse now. Or maybe I could make a guard cat. I have enough.
That should be your new goal, is to train the cat to be a guard cat.
Yes. How would it tell me? Like, that's the question.
It can scratch at your face.
Scratch my face.
Oh
I'd be dead before I could wake up to fix the situation. What about you, Jessica?
Like nicely.
Oh, okay. Nice scratches. I don't know. Cat scratches still scare me, even though I've like worked with them for so long. When I get them, I'm like, it's like a paper cut. So what do you have?
A really cool one. Yeah.
All right. So I found this story on vice.com and it was making the rounds on social media. And my favorite part of this whole article is the first sentence of the story. So I'm going to read it to you guys, which says, "Our sad, crumbling world is not worthy of Keanu Reeves." And after reading this story and watching this video of Keanu Reeves learning to ride a horse for his John Wick movie series, I totally agree with this statement. So have you guys seen this yet? Did you watch it?
I have not seen it, but I need to check it out.
Oh my God. He's actually pretty good.
Yeah. At least he was wearing a cross-country vest too.
Yeah. So he's wearing a cross-country vest. He's wearing a helmet. And he's he looks very relaxed and confident and like has a pretty good seat and he sits real tall and he actually was so comfortable on a horse while working on the movie set that they let him do some of the stunts, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is exciting. Oh, look at him go. I'm watching it now. He's so cute.
I know, isn't it cute? So if you need a good pick-me-up, just watch this video. It'll make you laugh.
He can come ride my horses anytime. I won't tell Matt. It'll be okay.
That's funny. So if you guys have not signed up for the Heels Down Brief yet, you totally should, because beginning September 9th, we are doing a fail week in the brief. We asked 5 professional riders to share a time of when they royally messed up, and they really did deliver. Some of these stories will make you laugh, they'll make you cry, but they'll also make you realize that even though you've got Olympic dreams or you've ridden across a 4-star cross-country course, these people are still human like us and they mess up. So sign up for the brief. We're going to be sharing a fail story every day beginning the week of September 9th. And you can subscribe by going to bit.ly/HD brief. All right, guys, if you missed the announcement that Heels Down Media made about our new soap line, Soap for Dirty Equestrians, we have all the details you'll need because we are going to review the soap. Because Jess, you got some, right?
Well, that's what I was just about to say. You guys, I got 3 of the soaps already, and I cannot rave about them enough. They're so stinking cute. I first didn't even want to take off the paper because it's so cute. You just want to leave it in your bathroom and make it look pretty at all times. So there's 6 hilarious scents that you can pick from, and you can get them all packaged together in different mix and match. You get them in packages of 3. So I'll go through the list and kind of describe. I've only got 3 of them, but I can't wait to get the other ones. So there's Stressed Out Annie, and that's in lavender therapy. I love that one. That actually is our favorite so far. And then Would Pick Horses Over You, and that's in a rose geranium. And then Barn Drama Detox, and that's in a Dead Sea Mud. I really think that one's going to be interesting to try. So that's on my next to get list. Can't talk today. Sorry, guys. And then Upper Level Goals. I have that one. That's the one I think my mom might have just stolen, but that's in lemongrass. And it's not too powerful. And so I like that one. It's just subtle. And that would be my go-to one to give somebody if you didn't know what they loved. And then You Deserve This Mint and peppermint. And then the one I talked about for Hudson is the Equestrian Trailer Life. And it's unscented hair and body bar. So you kind of get an all-in-one. So you guys need to go. They're actually available. You guys can pick them out and you can mix and match yourselves. You go to shop.heelsdownmag.com, and they're actually coming to some tax stores. So check your local tax stores as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the lavender one too, the Stressed Out Amy. My husband Alex
Isn't that your favorite?
It is. My husband Alex is trying to steal it and use it as his bar of soap that he brings to the gym, but it's a good one. But even when they came in the mail,
Sneak
and I
another one in. Yeah,
exactly.
One in for Alex.
I was like, you could try the mint one. But
yeah.
Even when you open the box, when they came in the mail, I was just struck when I opened the box, how good they smelled. In the shipping materials, they still smelled so good.
I think my mom found the smell of them when she walked into the spare bathroom, bedroom, not the bathroom. And she went in and she was like, "What are these?" And I was like, "Aren't they super cute?" It was going to give her oh, and she goes, "These are really good." She started pitching them to me. And I was like, I already like them. I don't need to be dogged into them. But no, they're great. So you guys really need to go check them out.
And they're vegan and cruelty free. And again, you can find them if you go to shop.heelsdownmag.com. All right, everybody. So we have a really exciting guest on the show this week. And if you don't know who Georgina Bloomberg is, you really just don't know show jumping. She's a professional based in New York City. She's represented the U.S. equestrian team at the 2015 Pan American Games, where she won a team bronze. Outside of riding, she actually is a writer. She's written young adult novels about the equestrian show circuit, and she's done some extensive, really cool animal welfare work. So, Georgina, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about it.
Okay, so my first question for you is, I'm a follower of yours on Instagram, and I need to know more about Ferdinand. I guess he was a bull, but he's no longer a bull now.
Now Ferdinand the steer.
Okay. Tell me more about him. He's so cute.
He actually was, he was actually born in a clinic in Safe State, but his mother was at a slaughter auction. And we had heard about him, we'd heard about her, and she was heavily pregnant and was going to go to slaughter. And so we decided to rescue her. And literally the next day, she gave birth to Ferdinand. So her name is Vera, and her son's name is Ferdinand, and they now live very happily here at our farm in North Salem.
Great. Okay, so is that where you're based out of most of the year, Salem?
North Salem, New York. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
it's about an hour outside of New York City.
So is that where you keep your show jumpers, but then also some of your rescue animals?
Yes. We have a farm here where we have most of the show horses and a couple of the rescue animals running around. And then we have a separate little farm where I have a couple of retired horses. We have the cows. We have New York City carriage horse that's retired here. We have 2 mules. We have a couple of rescue minis, but we have sort of a whole collection going. And as the years pass, we seem to add more and more, and animals just start sort of coming to us through different circumstances, whether it's a rescue calling and saying that they, need to place an animal. And we've actually had 3 animals that we have here currently just appear. One is a baby deer who was actually born on the property and separated from his mother, and he was very sick, and we tried to reunite them a couple of times, but unfortunately he was not strong enough to go with her, and then her milk dried up, so it was not a situation where he was going to survive. So he currently lives here. He's going to go to a sanctuary in a little bit, but for right now he's staying here.
Oh my gosh.
We have a rooster named Roger, who again just appeared on our property in Florida. We have no idea how he got there, but he just literally walked in one day and said, I'm going to live here. So he just sort of chose us. He was definitely not an animal that we were looking for, but I'm actually very happy that it's a rooster, not a chicken, because everybody wants chickens because they can obviously produce eggs, and roosters usually get killed right away. Nobody wants them because you only really need a rooster every once in a while to make another chicken, so the chickens can keep giving you eggs. But roosters are sort of very much something that people are always trying to place in sanctuaries because obviously there's no need for them most of the time. So I'm very happy that it's a rooster, not a chicken. And
Aww.
Then we also recently, a pigeon actually appeared on our property. We've named Steve. And it's very odd. At first we thought maybe he was a racing pigeon that got lost or injured, but we had him actually looked at, and he is not. He's just a normal pigeon. He hangs out outside of the house that we built for Roger. We now, of course, feed him, but he just spends his days at the farm in the same sort of area, and then disappears at night and comes back. So apparently word is out in the animal kingdom that if you come to our farm, we will feed you and give you a place to sleep.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I mean, obviously you've been a lifelong animal lover, but do you remember the first animal you rescued?
I do, actually, yeah. It was my dog, Hugo, who unfortunately just recently passed away this summer. But I had him for 11 years, and he was the love of my life. I had always wanted to adopt a dog, and I'd started looking into it and ended up at the Palm Beach Animal Care and Control and met him. And I had, sort of no idea about how many amazing animals were in a high kill shelter. And I, remember the feeling of walking up and down the aisle and looking each dog in the eye and deciding that I needed to figure out why this was happening, and why more people didn't know to rescue. My first dog ever I bought in the pet store, 10 years old, and I was an animal lover. And I think back as to why I did that, and it was purely because I didn't know better. And I decided that, sort of getting the word out and figuring out why so many animals are ending up there was something that I was going to dedicate my life to. And that was really the moment that I left the pound with Hugo, was when it all changed for me and when I started looking into things. And then, of course, it just developed from there.
Oh, wow. Can you just tell us a little bit more about your animal rights advocacy work then? Obviously, it, like you just explained, it's grown from there, but you kind of created your own, is it a nonprofit? Is there a place where people can get more information?
We don't have our own rescue organization. I like working with a couple of different ones. The sort of most significant is the Humane Society of the United States, which I'm on the board of, but I also have been able to go on multiple different trips and animal rescue excursions with. I've been able to go on puppy mill raids. I've been able to go down to Puerto Rico and help spay and neuter events. I've been able to do some work actually in South Dakota, relocating prairie dogs to safety. I've been able to do some incredible trips with them. And I'm actually also the chair of a sort of young, really cool group of people called Humane Generation, where it's just sort of like the next generation of animal lovers and animal activists. And so we focus mostly on puppy mills, not only legislation to help close them down, but in the meantime, before we can do that, obviously creating situations where we can make, the space required to keep the dogs in bigger, and the number of times they can breed in a year, lower and to help them a little bit as much as we possibly can until we can finally get puppy mills closed down. So we focus a lot on that because that is a huge sort of link in the chain as to why so many dogs end up going into pounds and getting euthanized, because there's just, not only do so many people have the option of going and buying a dog and then, they're sick or people can't take care of them, or people can go in and buy a dog from a pet store completely irresponsibly. But, obviously also we just don't need any more dogs born. So to have these mills where the dogs are kept so horribly and the dogs are usually sick when they come out, sort of producing more and more puppies, we just don't need that coming into the world. And it's also incredibly inhumane for the dogs that are kept there to breed.
Sure. Wow, that's amazing. Well, to kind of transition a little bit here, I know New York is going to be making its debut on the Longines Global Championship Tour this year and pretty soon, next month.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that, especially as someone who grew up in New York, and what it means to bring the Championships Tour to the Big Apple?
Sure. It's incredibly exciting. Just in so many ways. I mean, for me, obviously being born and raised in New York City and being a show jumping rider and fan, to be able to have such a high level competition come to New York City is just amazing. I grew up going to the National Horse Show and then was able to show there when it was at Madison Square Garden. So I got to experience that. But, to have a new show jumping event come is going to be something that's exciting. And it's sort of, reinvigorating the excitement of show jumping in New York. We had Central Park for a little bit, which was amazing, but it was also really only one show jumping class. It wasn't as big of a horse show as, we can really do here on Governor's Island, where we're going to do the Global Champions Tour. So, this is really the first time in years that you have the best riders in the world, not just, in the New York area or in the country, but in the world coming and jumping, the highest level of competition. And also it's something that I'm incredibly proud of because I'm the owner of the New York Empire, which is a really cool team that's part of the Global Champions League, which started a couple of years ago as sort of an offshoot of the Global Champions Tour in an effort to make show jumping sort of more spectator friendly and more understandable for the general public. And it's developed over the years and it's become something that I think is really cool and that people really like following. So it's something new and exciting and sort of what I see the future of show jumping being. It's a concept that I believed in from day one. And when the chance came to have a New York team, obviously I jumped at it. And this is the second year that we've had the New York Empire. And it's just one of those things that I'm just incredibly proud, not only to be the owner of it, but to be a part of and to be a rider on. We have a great group of boys and other riders on the team who I just adore. I'm so grateful to them for, every show that they show up to and all the effort that they put in. And it's, we have a really just cool group of people who are fun to travel the world with. And I'm really excited to experience the New York one with them for the first time and to show hopefully some of the general public who will come to watch show jumping for the first time maybe, and some of the local fans will get to come and see the league concept in person for the first time is something that I'm just so excited for.
And so tell us a little bit about what's the difference and what kind of describes with the Global Champions Tour, and then what's the league, because you talk about being an owner and all that. And so tell us a little bit about what the kind of, is there a difference between the two?
Yeah, so the Global Champions Tour is sort of obviously the umbrella over the Global Champions League. And it's, sort of a normal horse show where there's individual competitions and a big Grand Prix for, lots of money over the biggest jumps. And the Global Champions Tour itself is sort of what the whole tour is, but it's also refers to the main horse show that is just, like any other horse show, like the Hampton Classic that we're heading to this week. And it's an individual show that leads up to the big Grand Prix. And the league started, like I said, something that they wanted to give the general public who maybe didn't understand the Grand Prix concept or what a meter 45 speed class was, to come in and to be able to pick a team and then also to be able to follow that team. People love a lot of sports because you can pick a team and, there's sort of something for everyone. There's always going to be a character on the team that you're maybe going to be more drawn to and a logo that you're going to recognize. And it's fun to cheer for a team. And so that's something that has been growing a little bit, but the Global Champions League is basically run over two of the classes that are part of the Global Champions Tour. It's Friday and Saturday. And there's going to be two riders from each team going in each round. And it's very easy to follow. It's the fewest faults and the fastest time combined from both rounds over the 2 days. And then obviously then after that, there's the big Grand Prix, which is, equally exciting because, you have some of the best riders in the world who are obviously aiming their best horses for that class. So it's a good mix. You get a little bit of the individual sport in there, but it's fun to have something different and have a team. And I found that actually over the last 2 years, we've had the Empire, and this concept has grown more and more. Not only is the crowd getting more into the team than even the individual stuff, but the riders are as well. The riders are using their best horses and seeming to care even more about the team than the league, or than the Grand Prix and then the individual results themselves, because they can see the crowd behind them and getting excited about it.
And you guys have trading cards that you've kind of started with this whole league thing too.
we have cards that we try to give out to the public.
That's
listen,
fun.
I've always loved sports. I played a lot of different sports growing up, and when I went to college, I made a point of studying a lot of different sports. I studied sports management, sports business, sports media. It was something that I genuinely wanted to do because it was something that I'd always loved and been good at. But I've found now that I've gotten older that that's actually definitely helped me with the riding in ways to learn how to market yourself. The way that it matters that the team colors and the logo and the little touches like that. I think it's
Absolutely.
so important for athletes to know how to market themselves and to approach sponsors and to know how other sports work. And because our sport is sort of so, unique and different, I think it's really important to look at different sports that maybe face some of the same challenges that we do in connecting to the general public, especially in the US, and figuring out what they do and how they do it. I think a lot of sports, when you look at like NASCAR, obviously it's a car going around in a circle and, but yet the actual drivers themselves are recognizable to so many people, even though most of the time when they're in competition, you never even see their face. So if they can do it, I feel like there's no reason why we can't. And I think it's really important to look at other sports and figure out what they're doing right and wrong.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with
that's
you
really
more.
interesting. So tell us what it was like growing up in New York City. How did you even get into riding?
So I'm actually half English. My mother is English and came to America right before she had my sister. And she'd grown up with horses and always wanted my sister and I to take lessons. And so when my sister started riding, I wanted to try it because I wanted to do everything that she did. And so I started taking some lessons on a little pony at a local barn. And I actually did not like it when I first started. I was terrified. I really didn't want to trot, definitely didn't want to canter, but I was so stubborn that I refused to stop or to give up. And, it was something that, I enjoyed, but I was scared. And then I did my first walk trot competition actually at Old Salem Farm when I was 6 years old. And I came in 6 out of 6. And I remember hating that feeling and making a point of saying, listen, I'm going to go home and figure out how I can come to a horse show next time and win. And definitely didn't happen the next time or the time after that. But I remember the feeling of going to my first horse show and actually winning a blue ribbon and knowing that I'd had to figure out how to work for that. And then being in front of a crowd and, winning something was something that I just loved. I loved the idea of both. And so after that, I was really hooked.
That's awesome. Well, Georgina, thank you so much for joining us. This has been really great. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So guys, it's fail week, like we said, and I've sure got a lot of them. Do you guys want to talk about some?
Let's do it. You got a good story?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got one.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear Ellie's. Let's hear which one you picked because you said you had one that you have was pretty good.
I have a lot to choose from. Let's just say that. Because sometimes the elevator doesn't reach the top floor, you know what I mean? So this was okay. So this was when I was in high school. So this is a while ago. But I went to hit Saugerties for a week, and it was the second time I'd been there, right? So you get kind of cocky, right? You're like, okay, it's not a big deal anymore. Like, I'm just going to go show and have fun. So I'm there with my trainer, and she goes to ride one of the other boarders' horses for a warm up in the morning. And it's like 6:30 in the morning. And she's like, oh, why don't you take Berkeley out and lunge him? I'm like, okay, So I take him down to like the lunging area. And it was like a ways, like we had to cross the bridge and like from the stalls and stuff. And there's another horse lunging. So I just grabbed the other end, and Berkeley is being so lazy. Like I had a whip and everything, and I couldn't even get him to like canter more than like one time around me. He was like not interested. So I said, okay, cool. I guess he's done. And so we're just kind of trotting, and the other horse leaves And I didn't think it would be a problem. I was wrong.
Oh no.
He trots and he like turns around and he sees that the horse is gone. And he literally takes off at a dead run. And I'm like not prepared, right? I like water skied in the arena for like probably 3 or 4 strides and before like just dropping it because I'm like, I'm going to fall. So after I water ski for a few strides, I just let go because I realized I'm either going to get dragged around the property or I'm just going to fall on my face. So I let go and here goes my horse. Off he goes, and I can hear him run back across the bridge towards the stalls. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll take, the shortcut where the golf carts go. So I'm running through the run with a long dressage whip, and everybody knows what's happening because nobody just runs around with a dressage whip. And people in the golf carts are just kind of like looking at me like, oh, yeah, one of those mornings, And so I'm running, and now I got to the other side, and I can't find him. I'm like, oh, crap. Like, where the heck did my horse go? So it's like maybe he went back to our stalls. So I start going back to our stalls. But then I see this this lady come out with this horse who looks really similar to mine, also attached to a lunch line. And she's like, does anybody know whose horse this is?
Oh, no.
And to make it better, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's mine. Sorry, just kind of lost him, To make it better, it was actually Nona Garson, the Olympian.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
Yeah. And which is kind of funny
awesome.
because I've clinicked with her before. So I think that after putting the two of us together, she kind of recognized, and I kind of brought that up to her, and she was like, okay. Like, I was like, great. That was embarrassing. I'm like, never probably should clinic with you again because this is what you'll remember. So that was one of my more epic fails because that talk about humility on a very large platform. That was not fun. And to top it off, he twisted his shoe, and then I had to pay to have the farrier take it off and put it back on. So it was just a train wreck.
Yeah, but I bet you never had that experience in the lunge arena again, right? Because you were prepared.
No, I never lunged him at a show again.
That was the result. Don't lunge.
And my trainer passed me too while I'm running with this lunge whip, and she goes, I don't need the lunge whip anymore, Ellie. And I said, yeah, but I need to find my horse. And she was like, are you kidding me? She was like, you've got to, I was like, at least I'm not wearing anything that like associates me with a barn, because that would have been even more embarrassing. But yep. And so she said like, oh, what happened later? And I said, I'm never lunging him again. So I didn't. For the rest of the week, I just got on and rode him. I said, none of that. Oh, so what about you guys? Make me feel less bad about myself.
Let's hear it, Jess.
Well, so probably, I think it was 2012. I had gone to Kentucky a couple years prior, I'd been there twice competing before, but the lead up, I'd always had like good preps, really good runs, like feeling confident, everything else. And he jumped around and he was great. But in 2012, I broke my collarbone on my show jumper. Long story, but basically broke my collarbone and got sidelined for a couple of weeks. So I didn't ride anybody. And then when I came back pretty quickly. So, and all under doctor's orders and all of this, but I was real fortunate. I was able to come back pretty quickly, but I was just riding him because I was like, okay, look, like it's an Olympic year, we're trying to go to London, we're trying to do all this stuff. And so I fall off the mare and broke my collarbone, and then I'm back on in a couple weeks, but I just want to ride my Rolex horse, that high society horse of mine. So I'm like just concentrating on him. And that's what Jan and I have like discussed. It's all a good plan. We're riding him. So I'm going to go to Carolina and the Fork and then Rolex like we always do. And so I go to Carolina, and you had to drop, like you jumped up the water and then jumped back down off of it. And I just wasn't strong enough because I'm like usually really fit, to go cross country and everything else. And he just pops me clear out of the tack. He just jumped so hard into the water. I literally like kicked me out of the tack and I land in the water. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like everybody's freaking out. I've broken my collarbone. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. So I get up, my vest was hurting it because it was still pushing on my collarbone. So I like rip my vest off, and everybody comes up, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. And Jan's like, it's going to be fine. You've still got the fork. We'll be totally fine. Like, you're good to go. So fast forward 2 weeks, I go to the fork, and I, like, whatever you do, don't fall off. And David's like, look, this needs to be a good run. Like, he needs to run. Like, you need to blow him out. So you need to go fast at times. Like, have him on one last fast run. So I was like, okay. So I'm going really fast all this. Well, at the very end of the course, at the time, I was just like, he doesn't need much bit, but I had been going fast and slowing up, going fast, going slow. And so then I go, and it's at the old fork, and you go down the water. I jumped, and then I jumped the double corners. Like, everybody was having trouble. And then my horse sees, like, the finish line and, like, lowers, like, 5 feet on the ground and, like, just goes. And, like, pulls. I'm like, oh, this what? And he's big going. Like, it was supposed to be a quick trip. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll be able to get him back. Like, he always comes back. So then I go to balance him while I'm late to change his balance. And I literally, that I will never do again. I'll, like, make sure I had plenty of correct balance, good canter before I was going to jump. And it was not a big table. Like, this was, I'm talking, it was like a house. It was maybe training level. I was going advanced, maybe a training level table, second to last fence. And he literally, like, I couldn't get him back. And I was like, oh God. And, like, Doug goes, oh, maybe she needs to set up a little bit more. Like, he's literally, like, still just on his forehand a bit. Like, it's not shoulders are up. Like, that's not how you want to jump a jump. So lesson number 1, I needed to fix his canter, and I needed to get that done faster or circled or something. So I go and I try to, like, I'm like, oh, he's fine. He's the most careful horse. So I'm like, he's fine. Well, he just jumped a little bit out of bounds and, like, tipped his toe. He's completely fine. He does not. He catapults me out, and I fall again. And I'm like, you are kidding me. Same thing. I'm like, fine. I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to Kentucky? Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to prepare and everything? This is not going to go well. So long story short, I made a plan, and this is why you trust your whole team and your support and everything else. I learned that basically every prep is not always ideal. Every run of it is not always ideal. And I ended up having to go to Fair Hill because for my personal, everybody else can go on, like, whatever, like, it's not a big deal. Like, everything works. Like, people go on falls and everything else. Like, Doug popped off in the water, and he'll be great this weekend. It'll be fine. But what I learned was every preparation isn't ideal, and it's okay to have plans like that. So I ran just to go see the finish flag because it now happened twice to me. So I was like, I need to go. They're like, just go run 3 fences. I was like, no, I need to see the finish flags. Like, this never happened twice in a row. So I'm going to make sure I see the finish flags before I go to Kentucky. I go to Fair Hill the week of Kentucky. Kentucky starts on, like, that Wednesday. That Saturday or Sunday, I was running Fair Hill. I ran the whole thing really slow. And I knew my horse. My horse is tough. He can run, like, a ton. He's, like, got no bottom end. So I go run Fair Hill. And then I was in the top 20 at Kentucky. So I learned that trust your system and trust, like, who you're by and everybody, you know, that everybody thought I'd be completely fine to do it. And they were right. So it worked out. But yeah, I had a top 20 placing at Kentucky after the worst spring prep I've ever had in my life.
Wow. That must have been pretty humbling for you, though, to, like, finish Fair Hill and go to Kentucky knowing that you did the right thing for you, right?
Yeah. And you have, like, and that's the thing is, like, I was like, everyone's like, you can run 3 fences. And for most people, that's probably all they needed to do was get the horse out and get him in front of your leg and make sure, you know, like, run 10 fences or whatever. But me personally, knowing myself, I had to go do that. I know I needed to see the finish flags. And so, yeah, basically I went and had a great performance throughout the whole weekend. And, like, it was some personal best. And I learned that horses are a very humbling sport. And, you know, you can do some, you know, crazy stuff and then still pull through and know, and you trust your system and you trust your training and everything else. That I was like, look, I'm completely prepared and we're good to go. And he was awesome that year. It was a hard year.
That's a great story. That's a good, like, learn from your mistakes, learn that not everything is going to go according to plan. I think that's great. You inspire me, Jess.
Me too.
Thanks. Sometimes. So Justine, what do you have for us?
Oh, I've been thinking hard about this because I've got tons of funny ones. And I wrote a good funny one for Heels Down Mag, so you guys will have to read it. But Let's think. So I've got one sort of similar to yours, Jess, but on a very, very, very low end amateur level. In high school, my parents are great and always supported my horse habit, but no, they couldn't afford to go out and buy me like a big jumper that was going to go win on the Ace circuit. So they bought me this paint cross for $5,000 when I was like in middle school, and he was green as grass, but he was just a 10 plus jumper, had a beautiful stride. Like he was definitely a diamond in the rough that my trainer saw as like, this might be a lot for your kid to bring along, but he's going to be a nice horse one day. So when I think about my fail story, I had this, he was like 15.3, like this compact little jumper, but could jump the moon. And I always wanted to do the equitation. And it took years and years of like this horse just dragging me around the ring, and I had no breaks. And, most of my lessons I felt bad for my friends because the lessons would just be my trainer trying to get me to get control of this horse as they sat in the middle of the arena and watched me just be dragged around. But it took years, and years of falling off, of jumping out of the dressage arena because I couldn't control him, it just took a long time for us to finally click and me to just log the miles. But when we did, I remember I had qualified for our local regional medal finals on him. And that was a big day when I did. And so it was like the finals at the end of the year. I got the invitation to come back and show. And we won. It was crazy. My dad was there. And, my parents always came to horse shows, but it was like really special that for some reason, my mom couldn't be there. My dad came and he got to watch me win it. And I remember I cried in the ring. I'm like, 16, 17 years old. And that was like the biggest moment for me. But why it was special was because I had been drug around the arena for so long and jumped out of the dressage arena. And even before this horse show, in a medal class, before my horse had jumped and like caught his foot, like his front foot with a boot, and flipped over and fell in the middle of the arena and scared the crap out of my mom. I think that might be why she wasn't at the equitation final that year. Like we just had like so many log mishaps. But my trainer kept telling me like, if you want to find another horse, let me know. But I was determined, and that horse ended up being, the heart horse of my life. And then he went on to, I sold him and he taught some kids after me, and he was great. But so winning that EC medal, was the result of a lot of failures, I would say.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a good
to
feeling.
Come back and say, okay, look, to go and go, okay, look, you learn from all the mistakes, you get better. And that's what I think most of these fail stories is like all these people have learned from small mistakes, big mistakes, things that people don't even find mistakes, and then they learn and they grow and become, how everybody becomes a better person is learning from mistakes.
Exactly. Like sometimes you need to come out of the ring and have a good cry and like have someone give you a hug. Like, okay, yeah, that was an epic failure for sure, but there's always another day and you definitely learn from it.
Right. And how you get better is to come back and do it again.
Exactly.
And not let your horse go when you're lunging.
Go gallivanting around the ring.
Oh, he had a great day. Just went for a little tour.
There you go.
So you guys know I'm at Burley and everything else. Well, one thing I'm so glad that is stocked in our whole entire kit is we have all the different EcoGold pads that I've talked much about. But the biggest one, actually, Doug went on his gallop on it and everything else, but definitely will be on the horse for cross country, is the Secure Cross Country pad. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it is like the number one saddle pad used by event riders for cross country. It is great. It's got just the fact that like it can be a hot day, a cool day, whatever. It helps the horse, and it's got 100% breathable, high density foam in the seat area, so it helps the horse's back, and it like just doesn't add all that extra bulk that you don't need. So like our saddles fit the horses, so we don't want a bunch of half pads and everything. We just want something extra, and this is what that saddle pad gives, and we love it. It's awesome. So they're non-slip, hyperallergenic. You guys, if we haven't talked enough about it, go look. There's so much information online that you can get them at local tack stores, online, everywhere, or you can go visit ecogold.ca and check out the line. And it's that time again. It is Rose and Thorn. Do you guys have one?
I have to think about mine.
I can go if you want.
I can go first.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Jess, you go.
I'll go first. Mine's pretty easy, and I'm pretty sure anybody could guess what they are. So the rose is that we're here at Burley, and we just get to do this. That it's something that we're able to do. That we have the support and the sponsors and everything else. That we're actually able to come as a family and do this. Like Hudson's here, and we get to enjoy it, and I get to be here and be supportive of Doug. So that's definitely my rose of this week. Is just the surreal part that we shipped the horse over and we get to have Doug go compete at his first Burley. So that is absolutely my rose. And my thorn would be that I had to ship here. So Hudson sleeps really well on the plane. And so does Doug. I didn't get as much sleep as Hudson. That child slept for like 6.5 hours on the plane.
Wow.
And all of the whole time I'm going, man, I wish I could sleep that long on the plane. Like, I don't even think if I had a bed, I could sleep that long on the plane. So, we're sitting there and it's fine and everything, but I'm going, man. So I just watched the movies, but that was definitely my thorn, is that my child looked really comfortable, all cuddled up with his blanket and pillow and his stuffed animal. And I'm like, man, I really can't get that comfortable. And with being pregnant, I have to walk a bunch. So that was part of it too. And I'm thankful I travel really well and everything else, but my thorn was just watching him going, man, I wish I could sleep that well again.
Hudson is like the angel child. I mean, you guys got so lucky. He's just the easiest, cutest kid.
I wonder if your second one is going to be as good.
I'm a little scared about that. That actually might be my thorn.
He set the standard pretty high.
Good, and my next one's not going to be.
I think he just set you with this impossible standard of like the way it actually is to have a child. Not that I would know,
So funny. No, we are super lucky with him. Like, he's so good.
Oh, all right.
So Justine, what's yours?
I guess my rose is that it is September, which means we're 1 month away until riding will be like pleasurable in Florida again. It's been a really long, hot summer, and I hate it so much, but finally bringing my horse out of his summer hibernation, and we're getting ready, and I'm at this new barn with a great trainer that's got me really jazzed about our show year. So that's my rose, is that like it's like all systems go, everything is working, and this trainer is kicking my butt and fixing all the things that I've let lax, because it's really hard to ride on your own for a long time, especially as somebody, like, obviously I'm just an amateur, I'm not a pro. So she immediately, can nitpick all of the holes of things where, I just get lazy and don't work on them. And I have no one to push me to get better on those things. And it's amazing to me how many things she's fixed in such a short period of time already. But so I'm working hard, and it makes me really excited to horse show. So that's my rose, is we're all full speed ahead. Everything is looking good for a good year. And then my thorn has been just my anxiety over this gosh darn hurricane. It's like a super monster one. It's moving super slow. Work has been super crazy because obviously, as you know, as a newspaper reporter, I can't evacuate. I'm here to ride out the storm and to write about it. And luckily, looks like Florida is going to be okay, but it's been super slow moving. And just every single time a storm comes, like the older I get, the more anxious I get about it. I guess because I like own stuff now. When I was younger, it was like, whatever. I don't, it could tear apart my apartment. I don't care. But now, it's, it's a stressful thing. And gosh, you got to pray for those poor people in the Bahamas right now. But Florida is very lucky. We dodged a bullet. That's for sure. What about you, Ellie?
All right. I think I've come up with something. So my rose was easy. Knit, the horse that I was training, he went home, which was kind of sad, but also like, happy that he's going to go do something else now. He's actually going to go be part of a driving team with his full brother. So I taught him the basics of like ground driving and stuff, but now he's going to like real driving school. And now he's broke under saddle. So that's exciting. And now I have a new pony from them, and she's a 5-year-old halflinger as well. So I'm excited because this one they want me to do more English stuff with. Before it was mostly Western. But this one, she's going to be fun to teach to jump and stuff because she already jumped out of my pasture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're about 5 foot in the back, and she was out alone, and she jumped out. And so I gave her a buddy. So now she has my little rescue pony out with her, which she's really excited about because he's a boy. So that's exciting. My thorn is that, kind of like yours, Justine, homeownership really sucks sometimes.
It does.
Like, there are just a million things that just seem to be happening at once. Like, our basement, the windows are like leaking. So when it rains, all the water is coming in. So like Matt's trying to figure out how he can like build awnings or something for the outside to kind of stop that from happening. But so now we're having to clean up like this mold that's been down there because we don't go in the basement that often. So it's just every time you think something's okay, something breaks. And I know people make jokes about that with like having a farm, but it's really accurate. So that's my thorn.
All right. And we got this great mailbag from Jessica in the Facebook group that I think, Jess, you will be super helpful for her. So Jessica says, I have a super 8-year-old event mayor who is now starting training to step up to the intermediate level in October. She's in the UK, and she says that she has an issue with her mayor and that she's really bold. So she's stepping up from 100 to novice, which I guess is the equivalent in the UK of beginner novice to prelim. And she thought she would become more cautious as the jumps went up, but the opposite seems to have happened. So Jessica wants to know if we have any tips to help reduce the number of massive leaps into combinations or water. She can currently deal with it and ride it out, but she is worried that once she gets to a higher level, it might make it trickier to ride, specifically through combinations and water. So Jess, what tips do you have?
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of them, it's great that our horse is bold and it's wanting to go and everything, which is awesome. And it is a big step up, basically, to get, so what she's basically trying to do is she's trying to step up from like training level preliminary to then go all the way to intermediate. And so for us, we make sure these horses have the basics and that they do them quite often so that they kind of become like just second nature for them. So like going down a drop in the water, going over a ditch, going over, things like that we just make them go and do it every day. So like if they're a little bit ditchy or if they're a little bit kind of like if they go to the water and they don't just walk off of it, we do it every day with them. So, or as often as that you can, basically, even if it's in a dressage saddle, we go make them just walk off so that they just always want to go, but without leaping into it. And then part of like with the combinations and stuff is we set everything kind of like when we're teaching and training and everything else. Yes, the 2s and the 3s and all that are set on like a normal distance, but we do set them on like a longer distance or a shorter distance. So you make sure you have that adjustability. And we do a lot of like saying like kind of ground exercise, bounce exercises, stuff like that, cavalettis, to make sure that they're adjustable. So when they get to the upper levels, they're not then you get there, you walk it in 4.5. What do? Well, I don't really have that, adjustability, and I don't have that ability. I kind of have to go direct in the 4. Well, the 5 is the safer route. Well, all of ours, we hope that we've like given them the tool that they can do the 4 or the 5. So if it's then a 3-part combination, you can do what works best for the line and for the terrain and everything else. So we do a lot of making them add up, then go forward, take it, not by leaving out a stride, but like making sure you can do the numbers with add 1 and minus 1, if that makes sense, kind of like with the hunters and stuff. You want to make sure for us in this country, make sure the horses have the numbers for the hunters. We want to make sure that they have all the numbers in our toolbox. So like they can go and it doesn't have to just walk in a perfect 4 and that's all you can ride. So make sure going about it every day, making sure you have that adjustability and kind of, I know that makes it sound simple, but the basics of it is really the hard part, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense to me. Hopefully Jessica will continue to post in the Facebook group so we can watch her progress.
Yeah, ask more. Yeah, exactly. We'd love to know more. Let's see how the horse is going. Thanks for posting.
And if you have a question for us that you'd like for us to talk about on air, you can send us an email at hello@heelsdownmedia.com, or you can join us in our Facebook group, which is the Heels Down Happy Hour Podcast Lounge. And if you want to hear more from us, please subscribe to the Heels Down Brief. You can do that by going to bit.ly/hdbrief. And many thanks to our partners this week, which are Arena Saddles and Eco Gold. All right, guys. Well, I think we got a cheers to Doug this week. Hopefully he has a wonderful first trip around Burley.
Yeah, cheers to not getting stuck in different places.
Yeah, and cheers that thankfully Justine's missing the hurricane, that everybody else stays safe with the hurricane. So cheers, everyone.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.